things they said were lies. It's time to open up your eyes, 'cause we were made to fly. We can do anything. We'll shine like the sun, the moon, the stars. We can go anywhere. They'll see us no matter where we are, 'cause we got the fire. We got the fire. Show the world the impossible is possible. Show the world the impossible is possible. There's a moment when you understand. You don't gotta follow all the plans. It's time to open up your hands.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me here. Again, moving forward, we will be on the Coffee Talk with Trey Facebook page. We will be on the my school board, Cobb County School District Board of Education Post 3 page. That's a Facebook page. And we're also on YouTube. So we'll no longer be streaming this particular segment of Coffee Talk with Trey from my personal Facebook page, because I want to be able to interact with everyone in the chat. And so thank you for joining me here today. Good morning, Chandra. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Hey, let me know you're here. Shout out in the chats. Let me know what's going on, and I will respond to you shortly. But we're going to get started. We're going to talk about our October Board of Education meeting that took place on yesterday. And for those of you that came out yesterday, thank you for joining us in person. Those of you that watched via our broadcast of the public meeting, we thank you for coming. And so, yes, we're going to get started. All right. So first, let's start off with this. We do have some condolences, and I want to make sure I give some attention to this first. We had an 8th grader from Griffin Middle School who passed away. He was in a plane crash, and I believe many of us saw that in the news. But more closely to home here in Post 3, we had a couple students. One student who is a current student, he was an 11th grader at Pebblebrook High School, that passed away. And so we're continuing to pray for his family. We also had another student who attended Lindley Middle School and Pebblebrook High School, and he passed away as well. And so we're praying for him and his family. We also had a bus driver, Mr. Rico. He was in the North Cobb area, who passed away as a result of COVID. And so we're praying for his family. I believe on tomorrow they have a service that to celebrate the life of their father on tomorrow. So we're praying for Mr. Rico's family. We also had a Osborne High School campus resource officer, one of our resource officers, who also passed away due to COVID. And so we're praying for him, for his family. And if those of you that remember the work that we were doing here in the community, as far as making sure families were fed during the start of the COVID crisis, and all summer last year and all year last year, most of that work we were able to do. We partnered with a good friend of mine from Noonday Association named Mr. Howard Kepke, and he passed away most recently. And so we will be leaving later on this afternoon to go to East Cobb, to Eastside Baptist Church at 3:30 to celebrate the life of Howard Kepke as well. And so, let's just keep everybody in your thoughts and prayers. And also because we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about Suicide Prevention Month and all these different things. And let's remember that our students and our kids and our family members are going through a lot of things right now, and to continue to keep our families and our children in our thoughts and prayers. So I just want to make sure that I highlight that first before we get started. And so thank you. Melissa O'Brien, hey, thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning. Good morning. So now that we got some of those things out of the way, let's go ahead and get into what we discussed yesterday in the meeting. And so we're going to start off with some information that we received in regards to um, from our superintendent. We were given an update from our HR director, Ms. Keely Bowen, and she talked about where we were as a organization, remembering that the Cobb County School District is the largest employer in Cobb County. So that's important to know as we're having this conversation. Good morning, Nate. Good morning. Um, Good morning, Miss. There we go, Miss Laura Judge. Good morning, and tell my good friend, Master Judge, good morning for me. Um, but we received an update in regards to that. And so one of the things that we discussed, it wasn't actually in the presentation, was in regards to what we're doing to support the substitute teachers, our bus drivers, what we're doing to support our nutrition staff that make sure that we have breakfast and lunch at our schools. And so we did end up discussing that information. Um, it wasn't in the HR report, but we still ended up discussing it. We brought the question forward, and the superintendent was able to elaborate and discuss how, as a result of some of the monetary incentives with the substitute teachers, we were able to see a big increase in support in that direction. I mean, more applications than we can actually process. So those of you that have applied, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ms. Keely Bowen said that they will be getting to those applications very soon. And if you have not received information and it's been over 30 days, then you need to reach out to her department so that they can help expedite where you are in the process. And so we're excited about having that support. And then we also talked about our bus drivers, and that initiative for some incentives did not necessarily pan out as well as it had for the for our substitute teachers. And so we're still in need. And we actually used that opportunity to help get the message out that we're still recruiting for bus drivers. And so those CDL licenses and things of that nature, we're going to help get you through the process. And we are in need. I'm still receiving emails in regards to students who are not getting picked up for school. And so there is a need. And so we're hoping that the community will meet us and help us to meet some of that growing need around that. Nutrition workers, the same thing. We're in need to make sure that we have what we need to ensure that we have breakfast and lunch at our schools. And so we're encouraging those of you that can and will, that can assist those departments, please reach out and do so. There's also an incentive, I believe, that was released. I think I saw it in the MDJ in regards to or maybe in the AJC, in regards to our nutrition department and some incentives there. So we look forward to that. Those departments getting what they need to better help us. The superintendent alluded to other school districts who are having similar issues in regards to operation, specifically around the transportation piece, and they're having to go to 4-day work weeks and things of that nature. And so we look forward to seeing what our superintendent and his cabinet comes up with in regards to how we're going to support some of these challenges that we currently have as well moving forward. So wanted to make sure I put some of that information out there as well. We also talked about this has been a busy month for appreciation. So we had Bus Driver Appreciation Week. We talked about this is National Principal Month, and I have some goodies for our principals. I'll be dropping them off next week. I'm excited about that. Custodian Day was October the 2nd. School Lunch Week. So all of these departments that we're talking about, this was their month of appreciation, or their week, or their day within this particular month. And so we appreciate all the work that you are doing, even in these more challenging times, because as we're short staffed, that means there's more work that has to be put on a very few group of people that are doing the work. And so we do appreciate what you're doing currently. And so Ms. Johnson, good morning. Good to see you this morning. And so please, 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 if you know of people that, can meet some of these requirements and help assist in some of these departments, even if it's just for a temporary basis this year, please reach out. We are in need. And so we do need that support, especially for communities that depend on this transportation. Like we actually, parents are going to work, and we trust that transportation is available. And so please, 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 if you know, of anyone. Have them reach out. The superintendent also talked about COLA and the elementary virtual program. The lottery process is opening up this month, so please be on the lookout for that. In early November, you'll know if you've been accepted based on the numbers that are available for those seats to join those online schools. So just know that's going to be effective January 22nd is when you will actually join. And so please, 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 if you're interested in the online school, and because I received the emails, many of us missed that deadline back in March, April of last year. We are opening it back up, but this will be for the next semester. It will not be immediately. So those of you that desire to transition to the online academies, please do so and put your request in. One thing I want to talk about is the marching band competition. I went to the one that we had this last Monday because Pebblebrook High School was in exhibition, and they did a phenomenal job as usual. We love the Mighty Marching Machine, and so this Monday, coming Monday, South Cobb High School will be in exhibition, and so we'll be going out to support them on Monday. With our Cobb County Marching Band Exposition. It is a very good event. I am just always blown away at the presentation of the bands and their performance and all that, and all the things that they bring together for these competitions. And so we have some awesome band programs here in the county, and they get an opportunity to highlight all of the things that they're doing. And so, yes, if you can come out, it'll be at McEachern High School. It'll be in the stadium. Last Monday, it was packed to capacity, and I'm sure this Monday will be also packed to capacity. Come on out and let's support our band students. Earlier this month, October the 6th, I was able to participate in our Teacher of the Year handprint ceremony at the Marietta Square with the Cobb Chamber. I was there to participate and watch our Teacher of the Year, Ms. Beth Foster from Osborne High School. And so just a wonderful experience to see their handprint being placed at the square. So if you're ever at, I think it's Glover Park, you'll be able to go and see their handprints and all the other Teachers of the Year prior to. Very wonderful performance. So we appreciate the chamber and all the support that they continue to give our school district and our and specifically that Teacher of the Year program. So we appreciate that. I believe there's a Teacher of the Year breakfast that the chamber is hosting pretty soon this month, and so I'll be there for that as well. So I want to make sure that I put that out there. Also, SPLOS 6. I want to make sure that everyone is aware that SPLOS 6 will be on the referendum for SPLOS 6 will be on our ballots for the November 2nd election that we have coming up. So you can go out on November 2nd, but early voting has begun. So I just wanted to make sure that I put that information out there for you. Let's see what else we have. This is kind of unrelated but related. Biden had an executive order to advance equity and excellence and economic opportunities for our Hispanic communities. And so I saw that, I read it, and I was like, wow, this is really good, because now we're looking at one of the subgroups again, and we're looking at how the federal government is going to assist in economic equity and excellence for this particular group of communities. It also includes education. So I'm looking to see how we can leverage that executive order for our Black and brown communities that we serve here, specifically here in the South portion of the county. And so I'll be following that and bringing back some information on what is actually going to be rolled out as they're rolling it out in some of those initiatives. I know it talked about like pre-K and early learning. And so I'm curious to see where we go with that. And so I'll be looking into that for you as well. We've had some very good weeks here in South Cobb, Post 3 in particular, in regards to our sports programs. So let me start off first with South Cobb High School, because they just finished homecoming. I had a wonderful homecoming parade. I appreciate you inviting me to come out and be your grand marshal. And it was just phenomenal to see the ROTC, to see all the fall sports, our football team, the band. It was just a wonderful experience. The homecoming court, coming down Austell Road to go into the school, and just a wonderful, wonderful homecoming week. I saw the pictures online of the students that were coming in as aged older people. Our kids are very creative and funny. It's hilarious to see them enjoy school in that way. And they had a wonderful homecoming dance. Miss Sweeney over there at she's an alumni 06, and Takesha Farmer 06. She's a Falcon/Eagle. We appreciate all the commitment you have made to the homecoming event and the coronation every single year at South Cobb High School. I'm telling you, it's just a really big event, and you guys go all out for the kids, and I really appreciate you doing that and creating it just a welcoming culture and climate for our students as they're learning. So South Cobb High School at their game. Now, listen, our football season hasn't been the best, but we were able on homecoming week to unseat. It really was just an upset Kennesaw Mountain High School. They're number 4, and South Cobb High School took them down. And so, listen, Eagles, we appreciate you soaring with pride on that Friday night, and so we're here to support you. But just know, Pebblebrook High School homecoming week is coming up. October 22nd is homecoming, and we will be having a wonderful week leading up into Pebblebrook High School's homecoming. So I want to talk a minute about Pebblebrook High School football, simply because they were just awarded Fox 5 is like the High Five Sports Team of the Week. And needless to say, they deserve it because they're undefeated. And so unranked, but undefeated nevertheless. And Pebblebrook High School, listen, our Falcon football team, that department is nothing to play with. When I go to the games, I'm always blown away at how just those kids are awesome. Those kids are really bringing something to the table. I'm expecting to see this program really grow and thrive for years to come. And so we're excited about them. All right. I see, Ray, you got some statements. Let me see what we got here for Ray. Good morning. Checking in for a few minutes. Congrats, schools. Yes, some confidence on field and in the classroom. That's right. Right. We're on the forefront of our emerging South Cobb. Yes, Ray Thomas, I appreciate you as well. And what you bring to the table and how you support education here in South Cobb and how you support the Mableton community as well. Ray is with the Mableton Improvement Coalition, and so we are always appreciative for the love and support that you give to our community to help grow our community. Again, as you said, emerging South Cobb. Yes, we are emerging out of the dust, and so we're excited about that. And thank you for tuning in this morning. So yes, football, academics, we are thriving here in the southern portion of the county. Some of the things that we were able to work on yesterday in our meeting, and it was in the work session and also in our 7:00 meeting, we were able to approve a recommendation for school property disposal. And we do this every single month. But the things that are very specific to our individual schools, we authorized purchase of 12 buses, and those buses do have air conditioning. And if you listen to the meeting, you hear they emphasize that several times. And for those of you that have been following the meetings for a while, you understand why. But we were able to add 12 more buses, propane buses, to our fleet. And then we were able to award a contract for Soap Creek Elementary School for their physical education building replacement. That is a SPLOST 4 project. Please know that SPLOST 4 will probably finish, but I'm sure these were monies that were from the capital outlay and monies that are coming back from other projects that were completed in SPLOST 4. And so the priority, I guess, from SPLOST 4 that came back was the Soap Creek Elementary Physical Education Building replacement. And so that was approved. And then lastly, we approved a contract for Sprayberry High School for their gymnasium and their CTAE building renovation. So they will be getting their new gym. As you know, majority of the high schools here are getting their new gyms. Pebblebrook High School is one of those schools that's getting a new gym. And they're also getting some renovations to their existing CTAE building. So we'll be looking to see what those plans look like and those renovations and what those renovations add to the value of the Sprayberry High School community. And so that actually came out. Also in our work session, there was a resolution for anti-Semitism and racism. Racism got kind of pushed in there. And there's several articles with the MDJ and also with the AJC that kind of give you a good idea as to what that portion of the meeting looked like in regards to that. But it did pass. It did pass down 4-2. Dr. Howard and myself, we actually were not in favor of the resolution as written. And our 4 other board members were in favor of it. And Sharice Davis was not in attendance on yesterday, and she's fine. So no worries. And so we were able, but the resolution did pass And it is a anti-Semitism and racism um, resolution. And we'll address that toward the end of the meeting, but that was part of our work session as well. And so I want to make sure I follow up with the Mapleton Improvement Coalition had an education SPLOS forum, and they had people from within our community. We had a wonderful teacher who teaches at Pebblebrook. She's also a Mapleton resident who was able to give us some information on what SPLOS has done for us at Pebblebrook High School and what's on the list for the new SPLOS initiative. And then we also had residents that live in Mapleton, and they were able to express their concerns with SPLOS, or where they were with SPLOS. And then we also had Mr. Teague, who is with Croy Engineering, and he also was there to advocate for SPLOS. And so those of you that have not watched it, I believe it's on Facebook, but there's also an article in the MDJ that was also put out in regards to that particular forum that took place here in Mapleton. And so that information is there for your perusal as well. Let's see what we have. Those of you that are driving down Austell Road, you may notice that right at South Cobb High School, when we see the back of the stadium, there's some new signage back there, bright, nice new paint, and a new South Cobb High School Eagle sign. That was recently installed. Thank you, LGE Community Credit Union, for a donation that allowed us to really improve some of that curb appeal for South Cobb High School. We appreciate having that additional resource added to the community so that we can make a just improve our curb appeal for our schools here in the southern portion of the county. Ray says that was not a resolution on racism; it was an anti-Semitism resolution. Ray, thank you, sir. We're going to come back to that conversation at the end. But yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So let's see what else we have coming up for you guys. There was a presentation. We talked about the HR presentation. There was also a presentation about mathematics, and we talked about our CCRPI scores, and several questions was raised out of that had me reaching out to one of my contacts at the Georgia Department of Education to discuss. I guess it was the page that talked about the flags, a green flag and a red flag and a green flag with yellow, and then Chairman Scammahorn made a statement in regards to his subgroup was performing well, and then he wanted to know about the other subgroups and how they were performing and how we could improve some of those other subgroups. And so it got me wondering, why the standard seemed to be so low. The expectation was so low for some of those other subgroups. And so I do have a call into one of our data technicians here in Cobb County, Dr. Monica Willis-Brown. And as soon as we get off this call today, we'll be touching back with her in regards to some of that data. And then we'll be reaching out to the Georgia Department of Education to get some more understanding on that particular slide. But the mathematic presentation, it is online. It was a lot of information dumped at you at one time. And so I advise everyone to take a look at it as well. Because there was a lot of information. We talked about the 360 classrooms. I visited Compton Elementary, and thank you, Principal Beth Lair, for allowing me into the building to see how we are implementing that redesign for how we teach math in our schools. And so a great program. I love the way the teachers interact with the students, and you can see them all working firsthand. And so that was just exciting. That was exciting. So we looked at how we perform as a district, and we looked at how we perform in relation to the state and with our other metropolitan school districts. And so, and just know also that the Georgia math standards have, there's some revision that's going on. And so we talked about what the professional development for our teachers was going to look like so that they're prepared for when they actually release the new standards and the expectations on when we're going to start teaching those new math standards. And so that was given. And we talked about some board resources and what we've done to help assist schools to perform well. And so that information is there. A lot of information, some of the targeted supports that our schools are receiving with the MFI program. And I've actually seen how we track that data, and we're tracking students. That's the Math Fluency Initiative. And so it was originally, again, a third grade program, but now we kind of got it ramped up grades K through 3. And so we're actually looking to see what kind of growth we actually get from that. And one of the things we use as parents, you're going to hear this all the time. The MI, which is the math inventory, the reading inventory, which is the RI, and we're always tracking to see what kind of growth our students are achieving when we have those assessments. And just like the RI, there's a math inventory, and so it's taken 3 times a year. And so they just took the math inventory this year so far, and so I believe in January, February, sometime that we take the math inventory again, and then toward the end of the school year, we're going to take the math inventory again. And the objective is that we should see growth in our student groups with every iteration of the math inventory. And so we'll be looking to see what it looked like in the spring, actually in January or February. I asked that the superintendent will give us an update as to where we were with the math inventory after the second reiteration, and if we're going to be on target again for the third reiteration of the math inventory. So we're going to be excited to see that growth and what that looks like for our math inventory. We talked about the PSAT 10 which is another benchmark. And so one of the questions was who takes it, and it's our 10th graders. And so we're going to be looking and tracking that data as well. And so just a lot of information was given to us in regards to our math performances, whether it was the milestones or the Iowa testing and how we're performing. And so very lengthy, in-depth math presentation. And so again, this was supposed to be presented last month. It got pushed to this month. And so again, a lot of great information. So we appreciate that. All right, before we get to our resolution situation, we're going to go and talk about public comment. We had one public comment at the early session, at our work session, and she was thanking Chris Ragsdale and the board for their commitment to, like the freedom of choice to wear the mask and things of that nature. And so we appreciate her coming and sharing her thoughts with the Board of Education. And then in the evening session, it was, I believe 13 speakers. It was jam-packed. And but I noticed on the sign-up sheet, we had one person signed up twice. We had a couple of no-shows. And so this was one of the concerns that I had with going digital, is that, what happens when people don't show up or someone signs up all the slots, and manipulate the sign-up process. And I actually have been tracking it. I've noticed that we've had the similar issue every single month since implementing it. So I'll be reaching back out to the superintendent pretty soon to discuss what are the steps forward to make sure that we are intentional about allowing the community to come and speak and review of this new process that we put in place and see how we move forward with that. So I'll be doing that. But this night session, wow, it was full of people. Ms. Laura Judge, I see her on here tonight. She was at the board meeting, and she talked about communication from the board, and she was concerned with some of the communication from some of our board members in regards to some of the most recent communication from them not necessarily aligning with communication around anti-Semitism or racism, and even our board, even just some of our policies around COVID, and encouraging vaccines and things of that nature. And so she did wanted to impress upon us to make sure that our actions match our words. And she also discussed how the board policy was to limit robust debate. And she talked about what robust debate was and how it should be encouraged. And so thank you, Laura, for your advocacy. Austin Heller came and he talked about, actually, he was talking about words again, how words matter. He talked about dangerous language, and he talked about how some board members use dangerous language when they're talking about, student groups and subgroups within our community. And he cautioned us with that. And Austin Heller is also running for school board, I believe in the Sprayberry area in Chastain's district. And Leslie Litt, she came to talk to us about Education SPLOS 6. And thank you, Leslie, for coming to talk to us about that. Then we had Cliff Johnson. He actually was a no-show again. So again, someone signed up, and he wanted to talk to us about our NSBA affiliation, but I'm not sure exactly what he meant in regards to that. So I may reach out to Mr. Cliff and follow up with him and see what was his concerns. I'm actually curious to hear what they are. John Wuso, one of our counselors at one of our schools here. He's also a a product of the Cobb County School District, grew up right down here, South Cobb High School. Right down here in the South Cobb area, South Cobb High School, Bryant Elementary. And so he came to talk to us about trust and acknowledging that our actions as a board of education have eroded that trust, and some of the language coming from the board has helped to erode that trust. And he said he would like for us to get back to the place where we can start talking about things that actually make a difference, such as universal pre-K and initiatives like that. And so, John, I'm so with you on that. I agree. This is important for us to have that conversation. And so, thank you for that. For bringing that up and coming to speak to us in regards to that. We also, Mableton resident Jennifer Susko, she also came and she talked about, again, words hurt. And she talked about some of the communication coming out of the Board of Education in regards to the use of language like illegal immigrants and China virus and things of that nature. We were also welcomed by Rebecca Saylor, and she had questions in regards to COVID protocols. And also was demanding more robust instruction during the quarantine period. So those of you know, if you've been out for quarantine, sometimes weeks at a time, 2-3 weeks at a time, depending on how many close contacts and things happen, and saying that per her understanding, the instruction process during that period is not working. And so she's asking for more robust instruction during quarantine. Ms. Sonderman came. She wanted to talk about social emotional learning and CRT and keeping them out of the classroom. And then she also talked about, and this is where it kind of got different. I don't know. She started directing her statements to Dr. Memark, who's over Cobb Douglas Public Health, and about COVID vaccines and the efficacy of it. And so it just kind of shifted. But thank you again, Ms. Karen, for coming and speaking to the Board of Education and sharing your thoughts. The next speaker was Sandra Servin. She's an Osborne alumni, and she also has some concern with some language that has come out of the Cobb County School District Board of Education. She made reference that she is quote unquote a quote unquote an immigrant, and per the term she used, would be considered an illegal immigrant or an illegal alien. And so she asked for the board to reflect on their own racial bias when making statements and speaking. So thank you, Sandra, for coming and speaking to the Board of Education. Jenny Peterson, she talked about board responsibilities, and wow, she listed off a list of things that she felt were problematic, such as our vote on to bring in Taylor English, the lack of conversation around the senior exemption, CRT, no place for hate. She talked about, I think she said it was magic lights or something like that, and magic water or something. She was speaking in regards to some of the initiatives that we have used in our district as COVID protocols that we're not really using any longer. She also talked about poor contact tracing. She talked about the federal lawsuit. She talked about the Wheeler name change. She talked about the language around illegal aliens and China virus. And so she came to express her concerns with our board responsibilities. The next person that spoke was Heather Toller Bauer, and she expressed her concern for the referendum of ex-BLAS. We talked about that's coming up for November 2nd and voting no for ex-BLAS. Her phrase was no accountability, no SPLOS. And so she came and spoke. Number 12 was Ms. Missy Shep. She has a son who attended Simpson Middle School, and he's Jewish. And she talked about his experience with being bullied because of his religion. And she also talked about, and she also advocated for no place for hate, but she just talked about how it was a pervasive issue, and she would like to see more change around that. And lastly, Ms. Vivian, I think is Brostoff, and excuse me if I messed that up, but she was advocating for Jewish teachers who have to take personal time off during the Jewish holidays, the Jewish holy holidays. And so she was advocating that in other states, they actually give them those holidays off versus using their personal time. I apologize. It looks like we're having some internet issues and some things are freezing. So hopefully you were able to get all of that. All right, so that was public comment, and it was full of stuff. So we didn't actually read the resolution in the board meeting, and so we're going to go to the resolution last. And but the resolution was created by, I'm assuming at this point, Mr. Chairman Scammerhorn said from the community. So the some representatives from the ADL, I believe Rabbi Larry, who has been very instrumental in advocating for the Jewish community during this time. And but the resolution is an anti-Semitism and racism resolution. Now, only thing about this resolution that is discussing racism is the word racism in it. Other than that, everything else is about anti-Semitism. It talks about the acts at the two schools with the swastikas, the anti-Semitic symbols, and the anti-Semitic hate speech. Then it talked about that it was committed on the Jewish most holy holidays in the Jewish faith. And so, and that's pretty much, it talks about how, that racism and other forms of hate still exist within our communities and it must be addressed. So that is actually good. And some of the stuff in here was really good, except it just didn't bring any value to the conversation of racism. And so myself, Dr. Howell, we asked that racism be removed. And that request was not met by the chairman. And so they pushed the resolution through in its current form without any consideration from Dr. Howard or myself in regards to some of the things that we suggested would make this a better resolution. And so it did get pushed through. I do take exception with it. I did vote no, as well as Dr. Howard voted no. But I am certain that we will be, this conversation is not finished, as I have been overwhelmed with conversations from our NAACP here in Cobb County, with the SCLC here in Cobb County, and multiple organizations that support the Jewish community, the ADL, and met people last night who said, Trey, this work is not over. Actually, it's just beginning. And so we appreciate now the coalition of people here in Cobb County that are looking to ensure that what we put on paper, these resolutions and things, that they're just not paper, but they actually have some corresponding action. Because and which was one of my concerns. We actually removed the No Place for Hate curriculum out of our schools here in Cobb County. And then and that has been a challenge for me, because one of the things that I have expressed was that outside of not actually addressing CRT and defining it, it opened the door for us to start removing several other programs that we need, that are critical to the culture and the culture and climate in our schools, positive culture and climate in our schools, and such as social emotional learning and things of that nature. In fact, I expressed that we did have a person to come and speak, and was advocating again for social emotional learning and CRT to be left out of Cobb schools. But that's problematic for me, because these supports, such as what the No Place for Hate curriculum and things of that nature, it helps build strong individuals, strong students that can be productive citizens. And so it's challenging for me when we have these conversations, and then we remove them things, and then we see the results of removing critical professional development, not just for our students, but also for our staff as well. And so hopefully, as a result of this resolution, it's not listed that No Place for Hate will come back, but I am hopeful that we will be responsive as a district and bring the curriculum back. No Place for Hate. One of the questions that I asked the chairman, I said, hey, we've taken No Place for Hate out. Are we bringing it back, or have we found something in its place to replace that curriculum? And as of yet, we don't have an answer as of yet, but we do have a resolution. So we will see what actions actually come from this resolution as we move forward. But as of right now, we just have a resolution. So this is the first step. And so we will be moving forward with this. But again, thank you for the coalition of people that will be coming together to move forward to ensure that we address racism adequately. And I appreciate our Jewish community coming on board with that as well, to say, listen, hate in any form is not accepted. And so the coalition of subgroups are coming together to address it. And so I'm excited to see that. So that's where we are. So thank you for all of you that have reached out, that have expressed your concerns. We are it's just beginning. And so we will actually see this through. So the only thing that disappoints me the most from most of this is the fact that as a Board of Education, we are entrusted to ensure a safe learning environment for all students. And so when things happen and marginalized groups continue to be marginalized, it is disheartening because again, it makes me feel like as a governing board and as a governing body, and I can only speak for myself as 1/7 of the board. I feel like I have failed you, and I have failed the communities that we're serving when we politicize and trivialize the trauma that our students feel in and that they experience in our buildings. That's problematic for me, and I feel like we failed when we don't answer the challenge um, of these particular instances with restorative practices. It's always met with discipline and not enough learning and support around making sure that we use these as learning experiences. And so it's challenging to me. And and I go home, at night, and oftentimes up thinking about how can we it really affect change. We have to first acknowledge that there's an issue, and I don't even think that we are at the place where we have acknowledged that there are real issues that we really need to address. And so that's concerning to me. And again, and I believe a speaker spoke to this last night. Our actions do not align with the one team, one goal student success model. It doesn't align with that vision. And so I'm hoping that instead of being led by emotions and being led by politics, that we can move forward in a way and just be very intentional about supporting our communities that are experiencing trauma as it relates to any type of hate. Because, as I expressed, today we're talking about anti-Semitism. A couple months ago, a year ago, we were talking about racism. Next month, we could be talking about Islamophobia. We could be talking about ableism next month. We actually are talking about ableism right now, actually. We could be talking about homophobia and all these other phobias and all these other ways that people are being marginalized. And so it's hurtful to me. I believe that public school should be a very inclusive environment. We don't get to choose who shows up in our buildings. I remember when I was serving as a pastor, one of the things my pastor told me, he said, Trey, you don't get to choose who walks through these doors and wants to be a part of the church. You work with whoever shows up. And I learned that lesson, and I've applied that lesson even here. We don't get to choose who show up at our schools, but whoever shows up, we have an obligation to make sure that each and every one of them have an excellent educational experience. And so we were going to continue to work toward that. And I promise you that as your board member, because right now I don't like feeling like we have not met that expectation. And so we'll continue to do that until we exceed that expectation. Okay. So again, leadership matters, and we're going to help work with our leadership to ensure that, again, the Cobb County School District is not just a place, no place for hate, but also a place where all of our children are receiving an excellent education within an excellent, safe learning environment. So that's my promise to each and every one of you. Any questions and comments before we move forward? I know that was a lot, and we're actually close to time. So any questions and comments, if you have them, drop them in the chat. I will address any questions and comments. But again, there's articles. The AJC, the MDJ have picked up most of these articles. Of course, we've been in the news lately, just about any and everywhere you look. So you'll be able to read some of the information that took place. And these articles, actually, they're very well written. And so I ask that you do that. And then also within your community, get with some of these groups, these civic groups that are working to and make sure that the educational environment within our schools are safe. I always say PTA, go join your local PTA. I'm a member of several, serve on several boards, and help advise our Georgia PTA. And so, listen, let's do our part to make sure we are part of the solution to ensuring a safe and healthy learning environment for all of our students. All right. If there are no questions and no comments, we're actually going to move on. All right. Well, thank you. I thank each and every one of you for there you go. Thank you for all you do. Okay, be responsible. Thank you, Ms. Judge, for that. We will definitely continue to do that. Again, I'm here to amplify the voice of the people, because again, that is who we serve, and that's who we're here to serve, to ensure that the community is heard as we provide excellent education for your students. All right. Any other questions, comments as we move forward? All right. Let me find the outro, and we're going to see you guys next month. Actually, sometime this month, we're probably going to have another episode in regards to something we talked about last week. We're going to have a couple of education town halls to discuss data and to discuss the data specifically in Post 3. I believe I've gotten a request to discuss Splash projects for Post 3. So we'll be able to look at Splash Notebook 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to discuss those Splash projects for our posts. And so we'll be able to do that. So thank you. Look forward to those additional opportunities. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. We'll see you soon.